Hey, Teresia.
Hello, Susan.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, for sure. Long time no see. Last time I
Yeah.
think I saw you was when you were doing the trauma informed coaching certification back in November of 2019, pre-COVID.
Yeah, one of my highlights of that year for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. I got to tell you, I'm going to get emotional. When I first started coaching, you were one of the people that I just absolutely admired so much. So
Oh,
it is an honor, a true honor to have you here today with me.
thank you.
So I just want to talk to you a little bit about, your coaching journey and how you started. I mean, because you've been a coach for a long time
This
and
is
you were
my
kind
25th year anniversary.
of 25
25
years.
years this year.
And I
Yeah,
remember when you were Canada's first MCC certified coach.
that's right. Yep. Yep. And I'm only 29. How did that happen now?
Yeah, exactly. Me too.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's been great. It's been great to be a pioneer in the coaching profession. It's yeah, just to really I like the whole idea of being on the cutting edge and pioneering, and it was fun to be in that position. And I really took it as an opportunity to educate people about coaching because it was so new.
Yeah.
And I was sort of on a mission to educate people about the value of coaching and how it could change your life. So, yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, and I'm still on that mission. So it's a daily conversation for me, as you know.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Well, we have a lot of people to educate, right? The whole world. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Tell me a little bit then about when you started your coaching journey and then what shifted for you that you decided to just to take the trauma informed coaching certification.
all right. Yeah. Because Susan, when you were saying earlier, and thank you for what you said that, I was, somebody you looked up to in the beginning of the coaching. Well, when I took the trauma informed coaching certificate program, like that was a life-changing time and experience in my life. So you and Brad, have the same meaning in my life. Because that was just a really big transitional time for me. But to answer your question, and I'll circle back to that, so I had a stint with Anthony Robbins. I always knew that I wanted to help people. And I feel at that time I was sort of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, like, trying different things and saying, okay, that worked in this area, but it wasn't quite everything that I wanted to do. Because I was very conscious and very intentional about finding a profession that was a great fit.
Yeah.
And I had a stint with Anthony Robbins, and that's when I found out about coaching and hired my own coach, jumped in with both feet, started my business, and never looked back. And like I was saying earlier, just decided to, be a spokesperson for the profession, and went out and got some PR and did a lot of speaking, and my practice built, very quickly at that time. I think
Yes,
because
I remember.
yeah, and then yeah, years later, so that was in 1996 that I started my business. So, guess 20 years later, had a big personal life-changing experience. As you know, my life partner, father of my son, passed away suddenly, and I woke up to him gone. And so like I really had a huge aha moment, and I was always into personal growth and really curious about human development and how we're wired and how we show up in the world, and what creates success and what limits us. And um, so his name is Brian, and so when I woke up to him gone, I sort of expected that, a year or two later, I knew that was a big life event. I was going through a big transition from co-parenting to solo parenting. But after a couple years, I was just so curious. Like, I noticed I had still these behaviors and tendencies and even, sort of thought patterns that wasn't serving me, and they weren't present before. And I was just really curious about that. And, another piece of that is that I was with Brian for 18 years, and these were some of the behaviors that I noticed in him and some tendencies, and, never fully understood what it was or, what it was about. And so I had a huge aha moment. I realized, like, at the core of all this is trauma. And unfortunately, Brian found his brother passed away, and then I found Brian passed away. So we had similar experiences, and I just really got at the core of these behaviors that, wasn't always serving us, wasn't serving me, was trauma. And so just being a seeker of truth, a lifelong learner, wanting to be the best coach I could be.
Yeah.
It was just perfect timing. And talking about being a pioneer on the cutting edge, you and what Brad are doing is that. And so it was perfect timing. I found out about what you're doing, and I just thought, for personal reasons and professional reasons, I wanted to dive into this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting where our life paths lead us.
It is. And, I see life so much differently now since Brian passed in a lot of ways. But it's almost like, I think when we get to a certain phase, it's about stepping back, looking at life and seeing how the dots connect. Because I just so see that in my life and clients that I coach. Now, after taking your course, I'm even more effective helping them connect those dots. And by connecting those dots, I think there's increased self-awareness, and I think it helps us reveal our purpose in life.
Oh, absolutely. I was just telling somebody earlier, and not today, I literally just did like an 8-minute talk on defining your niche market and living a life of passion and purpose. And just that whole realm of what's the mess in your life, and then how did we decide to show up in it? And
What mess in
the
your life?
mess, MESS. What's the mess in your life?
Yes.
And then how do we want to show up and then integrate that information and those blockers to start to serve us again.
And that's what your course does for us coaches. Help us do that for our clients. So yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Okay, so when you took the trauma-informed coaching certification, was there anything specific for you that showed up for you, or that there was an aha moment around? Anything like that for you? Or even how do you integrate the knowledge now that you've learned with your coaching practice? Maybe that's an easier question.
Yeah. Well, it just increased the awareness, like that, probably the number one thing. It helped to connect the dots, like just sort of professionally and understanding. Because when I stepped back and I looked at, I've had the great opportunity of coaching 100 clients or more. I could see how trauma was showing up in their life. So just like that awareness, and for me, it was becoming more informed. What really is trauma? What what happens when we experience trauma? Like, what happens to the brain and the body? So it was really, Susan, it was just really educational for me. And then what I love about coaching, like just even the core competencies, through the ICF, through the International Coach Federation, your course just really highlighted how important those core competencies are. And I feel since taking your course, it just brought them all to the next level for me, especially when coaching people who are going through a significant loss or with trauma. And and even, all the self-care principles. So I think that's, I don't consider myself a trauma expert in coaching or grief, but what I do consider myself, I know that since taking your course, my ability to help identify how trauma is showing up and help the client have awareness of what might have been traumatic and how to navigate that and heal from that.
Yeah.
So I just to recap, like it was for me, it was awareness. And then now because I didn't know what I didn't know. And now I can help clients with that self-awareness, which often, it changes so much, just that self-awareness. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, isn't that the truth, right?
yeah,
We don't know. We don't know.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that's, that conversation is changing, right? Like since I've taken your course, and I said to a friend, like, is that because what I just went through and now I'm aware that I've experienced trauma? Is that why I'm more in that conversation, or is things changing in society? And I just think it's great. I'm hearing the conversation everywhere. And I
Yeah.
think it's
Well,
important.
and it's a conversation that needs to be had,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
time to bring it out into the open
Mhm.
and not assign any shame or blame or anything like that around it, and just embrace it. And there's so many talks and that about like mental health and stuff like that, and embracing that. I consider that all along that same realm.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, it's time to bring it to the forefront.
That's right. Yeah. And I liked what you said, Susan, because I know even through my own experience in coaching clients, the whole shame piece, like even just to be willing to talk about what happened for you, or if you're still grieving years later, there's just an experience. I've experienced this personally, and again, talking with clients, but almost subjudgment. You need to be over it. And then you feel like, okay, I'm not over it. So is there something wrong with me? And then there's the shame. So thank goodness I'm a coach. I was able to catch that, right? And not go down that path, but it wasn't easy. And so I think what we do as coaches now, with this awareness of trauma and that sort of judgment, shame, we can really support our clients to step strongly into whatever they're experiencing and feel okay about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Integrate it into their life and find that what's the word I'm looking for? That resource for them,
Right.
or the positive side, that resilient side that's
Yeah.
showing up, that
that-
keeps pushing forward. Right.
Yeah. That's right.
So, yeah. I'm curious, has your clientele changed?
You know what? It hasn't. But my coaching has changed.
Yeah.
I feel I bring more depth now. And so my ideal client is what you might consider, a high achiever, type A personality, highly driven. They've created a lot of success in their life. But there's this inkling that something's missing, or they're yearning for something more. And I support them just in creating more joy, fulfillment, meaning in their life. And now I feel I can do that with more depth and working with the whole person. So through taking the training, just more awareness where maybe their shadow side might be coming from. So I would talk about the shadow side, or the part of the client where there's self-sabotage. But now I feel I can get to the core of it, and shifts happen quicker. And
Yeah.
I think there's just more personal liberation, because there's a fuller understanding of all of who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That's a nice way of saying it, right? All of who they are. Mhm.
That's right. Yeah.
Seeing the person as a whole. And the funny thing is, we do that as coaches anyways, right? That's the whole purpose. We see the whole person, and
Yes.
we treat them as a whole person.
Yes.
And I think many times what happens with coaches is when a traumatic event comes up, they don't really understand the finesse of having that conversation. So
Mm,
they just skirt around it.
mm-hmm.
And
So you're saying
so
the coaches or the,
the coaches, yeah, the coaches just skirt around it because they don't really, have a really good understanding of what has happened in the brain and the body in the system.
right.
Right. So lots of times they don't have the ability to take on the trauma conversation head on.
That's right. Yeah. And where taking your training gives us the confidence and the insight. And for me, it was an education. Didn't link, um, I didn't link anxiety to a traumatic event. Like that's where I was before 2016.
Yeah.
And so just, simple links and like that just changed everything. So now if a client's sharing that they experience anxiety, I now ask more questions around that and help create some awareness where that might have started.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Um, what challenges are you coming up in your work?
Um, I would say, what you alluded to, Susan, is I just think there's a lot of shame when somebody might feel, quote unquote, broken or might have a past that, yeah, they don't feel great about. And then I do think, society sort of supports that, right? Because there's not an open conversation. There's not an okayness to, yeah, to talk about those things. So I just think it just takes a lot of courage for a client to even have those conversations or be willing to take a look at the past that may have been a traumatic event or a horrific experience. Because that's more the kind of clients that I work with. There's been a few since my personal experience that maybe there was a really clear traumatic event, but for my clients, it's a little more subtle in the way that maybe they grew up with an alcoholic father,
Right.
or there was emotional neglect. So there's just, yeah, being willing to talk about some of the experiences that happened and feel safe in doing that. And then I think the other piece is that when a client really wants to make some big changes in their life based on doing this healing work, dealing with perhaps either the judgment or just as they change and grow, things around them change and grow. And that takes a lot of, again, courage and commitment to keep taking the steps. Because I
Yeah.
think it's easier to be in our comfort zone or to be stuck in our patterns. And it takes a lot of courage and commitment to make those changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? And I think that's where, when we have coaches that are so dedicated to their clients,
Mhm.
and they step into that coaching mindset fully and completely and hold that space for our clients to grow, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Um,
And I think that piece, and that I just felt that was really highlighted for me in the program, in the training, that, yeah, I think a big part of our job as coaches is to create trust and emotional safety, right? Where the client is really heard and seen and understood. And that's just, sometimes it's just holding that space and the coaching happens naturally, right? As the client gets to share and yeah, just
yeah,
give voice to an experience or something they've been thinking for a long time.
yeah, unfold and let their journey begin.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
nice.
Yeah. Hmm.
So would you give any advice to somebody that was looking at taking the trauma informed coaching certification?
Yeah, I would highly encourage them. I'm one of your biggest cheerleaders, Susan. um, and the reason I say that, it adds to your toolbox of coaching. And I do think, being willing to go there with a client is just, it's bringing so much value. And I'm sure many of your participants have had the same experience that I had. I mean, doing your training, there was a huge level of healing for myself. And I think the more that we step into, our wisest self, the better coach that we can be. So there's benefits, just personally by doing your program. And then, as a professional coach to add what you have to offer into their toolbox. I think it's a given. I think every coach needs to take this training at this point of where we are in society and what's happening in the world. I mean, to
Yeah,
truly
isn't that the
serve our
truth?
clients, I think it's a needed tool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you know what? And I think you said it perfectly when you said it's an added tool to an already existing toolbox that we have as coaches.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Mm,
That's how I see it. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
Anything else that I could ask you that before we kind of wrap up? I mean, I'm just really thrilled that you're here.
Oh,
You
wow.
know,
Yeah.
I remember our early days, and I mean, you've been coaching much longer than I have, and yeah, it was just always such a great pleasure to work with you before when we were working in that together.
Yes.
And it was a great pleasure when I got your email that said, I'm gonna come back into coaching and that, and I want to come and take your course and take those
Yeah.
next steps and that again. So I still remember seeing the email.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it was a highlight in 2019 and a defining time. It put me on a new track personally and professionally. Um, and I don't know what else would I want to share or say. Yeah, I guess Susan, I just think I really feel and from the experience, my own personal experience and coaching my clients since then, it brings a depth and another level of value to coaching. And it's given me a level of confidence and also fulfillment because it's yeah, it's depth and the intimacy that's created in the conversation and
For
um,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and the difference that it makes. Yeah,
I call it peeling back the layers of the layers of the onion,
yes,
you
that's
know, right? Until you get to that very, very sweet center spot where everything shifts.
that's right. And this kind of work, like it really, everything does shift, right? Like you can have aha moments about other things that, oh, yes, that is a passion. I love doing that. But an aha moment of wiring that we have that is limiting us, and then to have a shift in that, it changes everything. And I just think, yeah, having the trauma informed coaching toolbox just really helps us do that as a coach.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for being here with me today. And yeah, I truly appreciate it. And I think of coaches as a stone being thrown into a pond that is completely still, and you watch the ripple effects that move out into the world because you showing up as a coach.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think we're very honored to do what we do.
agreed. Agreed.
I've always said I get to live my dream by helping other people live their dreams. So,
Isn't that the truth, right? I know every day, I wake up and my first thought is, who am I going to speak with today? You
love that.
know, and yeah, and I think it's the first thought that comes into my mind every day.
Love that. Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. Well, thank you again for being here.
My pleasure.
And I
Yeah.
know you're on vacation, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time.
Well, because we love what we do, this is sort of vacation, too, right? It fits
Isn't
in.
it? You know, it's so funny, isn't it? People will say to me, you know, are you retired? My husband's retired. And I say, no, I'm not retired. You know, I says, but I get paid for doing something that I love to do. So,
Yeah,
you know, I don't see a retirement date in my future anytime soon anyways.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
As long as I love doing what I'm doing, why would I stop?
Exactly. Exactly. So we're working forever, Susan. maybe less hours, but maybe forever.
But when we're both 100, we'll have this exact same conversation again.
I'm going to hold you to that, and we'll record it and share it. Yeah.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk to you later and have a fantastic afternoon and a fantastic rest of your holiday.
Thank you, Susan. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.